A new study finds Memphis is the most dangerous city in the country. This report comes as the Bluff City is on pace to surpass a record number of homicides.
Final morning. We got up about 30 minutes earlier this morning to make sure we were that stand good and early to hopefully catch them bucks coming back through. Just not a good spot to get to them where we saw them last night. They were kind of out in the middle of a field, so gonna do our best this morning. Hopefully they come a little closer. Yesterday we were all worried about someone breaking into the truck, and we got back to the truck and Patrick had left his window down the whole time.
Yeah. Well, they couldn't break in, at
No.
least in that way. They
Right.
just reach in and grab all our stuff, which is
Better than,
if you need it,
yeah,
come and get
just
it.
ask it.
Gotta
Just ask
provide
for it.
more.
All right, we are heading in for the morning hunt. This is probably my last set unless something crazy happens this morning, but gonna go back, and we just left our setup in that same tree that we were in last night and saw all those bucks and all those deer. So see what happens this morning. Gonna be a little warmer today, but it feels good right now. The wind has died down though. It's pretty much no wind at all. We got set up pretty clean. Obviously, you didn't have to put anything up. We've already had 2 does come across where those bucks were last night. But other than that, I haven't seen anything. I hope that big 10-pointer just comes right down this gap right here this morning. That's what I hope. Spike, big spike. What's he? Another buck behind him. Well, we just saw Pepe and Don Julio. The Spike Brothers come through. The Spike Brothers. They're a tag team from down in Juarez, New Mexico, or Juarez, Mexico. Pepe. Hopefully those big ones come that way. And Don Julio. Don't call me Shirley. Looks like some hens to me. Alright, that's going to do it for this hunt, I think. It's about 9 o'clock. We're going to get down and just scout around a little bit. Pretty good morning. Didn't move as good as it did last night, but still had some close encounters with some deer, which is always a good thing. So what was the worst part, Patrick, about being a Memphis police officer?
The potholes. Hit them all the time. The city government doesn't want to fix potholes. That was pretty bad. And drivers were pretty bad too. They're not really that good. And then of course, murder is not a good thing. Burglaries, carjackings, those things kind of stink too. I'd say that's probably the worst part of Memphis.
Did you ever run into problems when you were hunting it? Like hunting in the city limits?
No, I did have one guy shoot a gun while I was sitting in my deer stand, and I went and put on my uniform. Next morning I waited across the street where he pulled in, and when he pulled in I went over there and got him.
Oh really?
Yeah, I just confronted him, and he never hunted out there again. Yep. So, yep, he was very brat.
Good cafe. Patrick can't figure out the kiosk here. This is like his third time trying.
This is horrible. Don't do this.
Double check that I got everything.
Go through this.
It's the right thing. Okay, I'm heading out.
Awesome. Have
See
fun.
ya.
Get back to your thing.
It was a great time, yeah.
In the final stretches of my 6-hour trip home this evening, I want to talk a little bit about urban hunting, kind of what my experience was for the first time ever doing that. Memphis is the #1 crime-ridden city in the U.S. It's actually the 10th most dangerous city in the world. Patrick, as you guys know, he was a police officer in Memphis for like 8 years or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but quite a while. And he was honestly not real comfortable with where we were at hunting. It ended up being fine. wasn't as rough as what he had thought it was going to be. But that element of was a different element for me. Like kind of having this lingering fear of something could go wrong deer hunting that maybe you don't typically think of as a deer hunter. Like you always think like I could fall off a tree, I could have a weapons accident, you could break a leg or whatever walking in or out of the woods. Things like that could happen, but you don't think about like, oh man, I could get back to my truck and there could be a guy waiting there to rob me. It's just stuff I never thought about. And it didn't bother me enough to make me not go there, but it is like a factor that like Patrick's wife was not real happy about us going over there and hunting. It ended up being, like I said, a non-issue. It was actually a little better area than he had remembered, so that was a weird thing for me. This I don't really consider to me urban hunting. This wasn't probably what I would consider an urban property. It's 30 acres, so it is outside of kind of town a little bit. There is a neighborhood I think it's to the west of that property that you could hear things going on, but it was cool. I liked it. The deer were not as so. Me and Patrick has hunted some urban settings, and he mentioned to me, like, he's like, man, I don't think we got to worry about wind and stuff too much, and that was not the case on this particular property. The deer were super nervous. I don't know if they get bumped around a lot there, or they got bothered on that particular property, or what the case is, but they were extremely nervous. No different than you would see any other deer. Now, if we were in a subdivision, maybe they wouldn't pay attention to the wind or to the human scent as much, but in this particular spot, there was definitely an issue with the wind. We actually had good wind, but the first morning sit, we did not have good wind and got blown at a couple times, so it is what it is. The one thing that like I said, I did not like was just the noise pollution in the area. There was a business that wasn't too far away. You could hear that. You could hear kind of cars messing around. You could hear people's dogs, that kind of thing. Kind of felt like you weren't in the woods, but obviously we were. It was a 28 acre wood patch with a couple acre field. So yeah, I'll probably go hunt there again here in December. We were really close to getting that buck, one of those bucks here. There's a decent chance that if I would have stayed and hunted tonight, we could have set up on the ground for those deer, but it's also was going to be like 96 degrees there. And another issue was there was no place to set up outside of a ground hunt, and it'd been tough to have two of us sitting on the ground with that amount of deer. If it was just those 3 bucks living in there, I think we could get away with it and get a shot at them. But whenever you have 10 does that are going to come by you before the big bucks come out, that's a problem. So that was something that we really were negotiating about, like, because at first I was like, man, we ought to just go sit there on the ground and kill them bucks that are coming out. But then I got to thinking about, man, we saw 18 or 20 deer that evening, and the big bucks were the very last deer that came out. So we ended up just sitting back a little bit again in hopes that they would come through that gap that we were sitting in. They didn't, but it's not very often when you get to hunt, you get to see like 3 quality bucks. And if you don't think those bucks are quality, keep it to yourself. We don't care. But it's rare to see 3 quality bucks like that when you're deer hunting, so that was cool. Outside of a velvet season when they're all bachelor grouped up, or really super early season when they're bachelor grouped up. But I just wanted to give my thoughts on the urban hunting. I think Memphis is probably the last city you want to be urban hunting in. I know Patrick, he had some issues when he was hunting in the urban area in Memphis with some people kind of shooting, not at him, but around him. And not real fun. You always got this lingering fear, whereas if you were maybe in a little better city where it's a little safer, those fears wouldn't be something that is an issue. I pray for those people in Memphis. I saw some pretty crazy things, just saw some people you could tell are really struggling. People on the side of the road that look like they could have a lot going for them if they kind of got their act together, but just their circumstances is not good. So we got to pray for those people. Pray for Memphis, because it's kind of sad to drive through a town that is struggling as much as Memphis does. Whenever you're the most dangerous city in the United States and you're the 10th most dangerous city in the world, that can't be a good feeling for you. Probably feel like there's no hope, and that they don't have anything going for them. They're stuck in there. So it's a feeling that I've never had to worry about, and I'm sure a lot of you listening don't have to worry about. Anyway, pray for Memphis, and hopefully that city gets turned around. And then if you want to watch another vlog, it's right there, or yesterday's vlog's right there.